What? Did we just become best friends? Yeah!
Okay.
I'm Angie.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our podcast where we talk about vendor events.
Welcome to the most whatever.
Well, okay, so I want to start off this episode with you as the shopper, not necessarily just the last couple weekends where we saw each other, but just in general, when you like to support small business, right? So you're going to be generally inclined to shop while you're there anyways.
Absolutely.
What are kind of your turn-ons, turn-offs as a shopper at an event like this? Besides honey. We know you love honey.
They could be on a wide spectrum of whether it's just stuff that bothers me or speaks to me or doesn't. But I would say it shouldn't take very long on a busy event for you to recognize that some way you've laid your stuff out is causing a bottleneck. One vendor we went to that Susan was trying to purchase something from, everybody was crowded around this one section where they had kind of these cute stickers set up. And it was way too elaborate of a setup for 25-cent stickers.
Yeah.
Compared to the high dollar stuff they're trying to sell elsewhere.
Right.
But that's also where the young lady running it was doing checkout. So it was just a mess, honestly. And I was really close, like, hey, just because the whole inefficiency of it was kind of bugging me. I was like, hey, move over here and you will have less people walking off. Because,
right. You don't have a cash register in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, you're checking out with a Square or with your iPhone or with QR codes anyway at these events. I haven't seen anybody with an actual cash box. So, I don't think you really need to be tied down to a location unless, of course, it's a power issue and you have to be plugged into something that's way over there. But if that's the case, then take whatever it is that people are glomming to and standing in the way of and move it to the other end.
Yes.
That's not so much that it bothers me because I'm drifting around on the outside anyway, but it just kind of hurts my heart to see somebody like, you could be making more money if you would not just think of the thing you're selling as the only part of what those people are buying.
That's a great observation because I have like a Square reader for my phone, but I also have a sheet with my QR codes so that I don't have to tell them what my name is or whatever. And historically, we were putting it in the back of the booth because we want to work the customer from the front to the back, right?
Sure.
We want them to see everything we had. But that's what we noticed. Then we have a couple customers, right? Now they're kind of waiting in line. Well, now the whole booth is full and these people have already made their selections. And my husband, who always knocks himself about not being like a great salesperson, he's a lot better than he thinks he is.
That's because he's so good looking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
He's
think so.
shockingly good
He's
looking.
not cute, ladies. He is ugly. Don't look at him.
In a Ryan Phillippe kind of way. He's kind of a dog, right? Yeah.
He had the genius idea of moving it back to the front. So we've already got them through here. They're already buying stuff. Push them back out. So now our QR codes are at the front.
Yes.
And that made a huge difference this weekend versus the weekend before as far as trying to get that flow. Come in, see everything I have, buy something, but then get out, Not because we want you to leave, but because we want other people to be able to shop.
Let me ask you this. Because, last week we spoke about sawdust, right? The kind of the materials that cast off when you're making something that you maybe not think is useful, but if you can make use of it, it's very effective because you don't have any extra cost. When they scan a QR code to pay you, do you capture that email address and put them on your mailing list?
Yes.
Okay.
If they use Venmo or PayPal, which is what I use my QR codes for, I'm able to contact them through there.
Oh, okay.
Versus if they use their card, I still get like some contact information, but then I have to contact them through Square, which sends them their email, and maybe they don't have their actual email set up to Square because they don't want to get marketing whatever. Whereas like I can comment on a Venmo thing, hey, I forgot to get your size.
Thanks for the burrito and all the other weird shit I see on Venmo that I don't even know these people.
But then you're connected to them, not just from capturing like their email, but you're connected to them on that app now.
Have you considered using some automation and having it automatically send them, hey, thanks so much for your purchase. Here's a link to my website. And now all of a sudden they're getting your sales emails, and you can set all that up automatically on Zapier.
You mean you can set that up all automatically for me?
I could, but I'm a little expensive.
Okay.
No, I can.
I see. This is my free labor here, people. You see how this works?
No, but that's my point. So you're already doing the hard part. You're manufacturing, you're selling, you're maintaining the relationship with them. You have all this stuff, and now it's just a matter of putting in a little front end effort, because once you build that system, you don't have to do it again. And it's automatically, if you're going to send them emails, it needs to have an unsubscribe on it. Talking to you cold emailers. Yeah. I mean, honestly, by law, really, but especially to personal emails. But that way it's automatic and it gets them into your, whereas, you said it best. Some people come to events because you're there, because they're going to see Sandy Pants and they can see all your stuff, but they're not necessarily proactive enough to go find your website and really become involved in you. Whereas if, you send them that warm outreach after they make a purchase, maybe even wait a couple days when they've, the event's out of their mind, not immediately, because they're going to get a bunch of receipts from everything they bought through Venmo, through Stripe, through PayPal, whatever.
Yeah.
But a couple days later, you'd be the only vendor at that event that they bought something from who's like, hey, remember me? You liked my stuff then. Why not keep liking my stuff?
Yes, Jay.
Yeah.
Preach. That brings me to my, I'm feeling real passionate about this topic, and I've said this in a previous episode. If you are not going into a vendor event with some kind of plan to get them as a repeat customer, to get them part of your social media, on your mailing list, whatever, you need to do it now. You need to start doing it now. Because as we've talked about before, you're getting instant feedback on your product or your service or whatever you're selling. And you're creating your fan base right there. You're creating your tribe, your super fans, your stans. You're building those relationships right there. And one of my things that is not nearly as good of an idea as having an automated email to not nearly as good as your idea. But I offer a little freebie for them to follow me on social media, because I hand out a lot of business cards. I'm old school. I'm going to give everybody a business card. But I don't know what's going to happen to that business card after it goes with them. So let me go ahead and get us connected right now on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I'm on all the social medias, whatever they have. They do it right there in front of me, and then I give them a little free goodie.
Yeah.
So I've won their favor over too.
Okay. I think what you're speaking of is kind of the evolution of a small business owner like yourself. So when somebody first starts out, of course, they're really good at making custom socks, macarons. There was a dude at the Big Four Art Festival who had batarangs that he had hand machined, and he would fling them into a log for you because they were legit.
He didn't let you fling them into the log.
Well,
did
no, he couldn't let people do that, just because I'm sure there's some safety rules against it. But what you're speaking of is, someone makes something, their friends and family love it. They think, hey, you can make money selling this. You're really good at this, or it's very unique. And then they start doing the vendor events like you're talking. And then what you're talking about is that kind of that next evolution to business person, where it's not just make your stuff, show up, sell your stuff. You'll never scale like that, because now you're limited by your time and your materials. Whereas if you can expand that business organically by doing the things you're saying, like it's the sawdust, right? You're making the 2x4s. You've got all this stuff. Use it to help grow your business.
Right. Why wouldn't you want as much from that customer as you can get from them while you're there? Yes, it's about building relationships and whatever, but like you said, they're even the most seasoned people, like you were saying, they spend most of their weekends of the year doing this. It's not necessarily because they want to. It's because they have to for their business. And for me, totally personally, I have 2 toddlers at home. I love doing shows because I like talking to people and I think they're fun and I like shopping. But there's only so much amount of time that I can do this. And for only so long, I'm old, Jay. I mean, I can...
What?
I'm old and I'm tired.
What does that make me?
That's what I'm saying. Can you imagine going out at 6 o'clock in the morning every Saturday and setting up a full shop display with all your stuff? It's exhausting.
Here's a secret for you crazy kids in your 30s. When you're in your 50s, you're going to be well awake by the time 6 o'clock rolls around.
You have no choice.
Yeah. Like I could be out there at 5 a.m. setting up if you need me to. Like, no biggie. I'm up.
Dang, Jay. Maybe we can exchange services sometime. But yeah, it's like you said, like it's not scalable. There's only so much time that you can put into these vendor events. I hear a lot of, people say, I don't know how to run an effective Facebook ad, for example. I don't know how to make a good TikTok. Me either. But I know how to make somebody laugh a little bit. I know how to make somebody feel good when they're in my presence. And then really all you have to do is ask them.
That brings up a really good point. And I was actually speaking with someone. I was guesting on a different podcast yesterday, as a matter of fact. Ooh. And this came up with May Create with Monica Pitts.
Hey, Monica.
She's an awesome web developer that focuses on nonprofits and helps them grow, their business. And we were talking about this exact same thing. She was asking me questions about organic marketing and guerrilla marketing and other methods. And she mentioned people with they would have that same complaint. Like, I can't juggle all this, trying to figure out what to put on TikTok, what to put on Instagram. And they try to copy something that was blowing up on TikTok and it doesn't have an impact or this or that. And it's like trying to compare yourself essentially to the internet is what you're doing. That stuff isn't actually going to impact your business. It feels like effort because it is effort, but it feels like you're maybe making steps in the right direction towards growing your business when what you're really doing is kind of probably avoiding things that are effective that are maybe a little less easy or exciting than getting on your social. Because if you're creating a TikTok or you're creating an Instagram, you're not just doing that. You're also farting around on TikTok and Instagram for several minutes before you post it and many minutes after so you can see who looked at it and see who did it. Oh, and then there's something else that pops up. Oh, there's a new dance craze. Oh, this song has been played. It's not those things. Yes, social media has a place, especially in a business like yours that sells online. But I think it's a very good exercise to really sit down and this is what I'm going to do on this platform every week for this amount of time. And separate that from your doom scrolling time.
No.
Because if you let them bleed together all before you know it, an hour is wasted and you were supposedly that was your work time to grow your business.
Right. And most people can smell bullshit on the internet. They can tell if your curated vision is really reflective of you, or if it's a template that you downloaded because it gets a lot of clicks for these other people. And you kind of get this, in my experience, I don't have 1 million followers on any social media platforms.
999,000. We're almost there.
Please follow me at Sandy Pants Customs on everything, at More Gooder Ideas podcast on everything. I have found that I can organically influence that algorithm because the people, when I'm in person, I create the fan and then I'm like, okay, now are you on Facebook? Could you give me a follow? I already know they're going to like the content I'm putting out because they like me. Then they're going to invite their friends instead of guessing at, okay, my average customer is 25 to 44, according to Facebook.
That's a pretty small niche.
And they're women, and they're the majority of women.
Sure.
Okay. That's a pretty helpful statistic. But how many women are on Facebook that are between the age of 22 and 44?
Like 50, 60? I don't know.
Millions and millions and millions. I'm getting more from my insights and from my analytics by pulling people into my social media that are legitimate fans already.
That's a good point.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And actually, I learned that while doing the shorts for our YouTube videos for this podcast. And I learned it by doing, not by watching 1,000 videos on when's the best time to post. I was just posting shorts. And I mentioned to Susan the other night, I was like, if I posted at 9 o'clock p.m., I get way more views than any other time during the day. Because before I was just when I had time, because I didn't know. And I was like, nobody knows us anyway. Who gives a shit? We'll figure it out. But sure enough, I figured out. And please do
Every
the point
article is going to tell you sometime different.
The point I'm making is the point is not go post your shit at 9:00. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is I learned by doing and making changes and iterating and paying attention to what the effect was. That's how I learned. I did not learn by trying to do what Ali Abdaal or some other YouTube genius who has 1 billion viewers is saying to do.
Yes.
And I'm nothing against him. He's made an empire out of YouTube. But so many people are, and that's what all of social media really is like, well, this is what this influencer is doing. So I need to do the same silly dance, and therefore I will get whatever.
It's not cookie cutter.
Right.
It's not cookie cutter. And although on Facebook, my ideal most active customer is 22 to 44, I have teenagers that are buying things from me, and I have senior people that are buying things from me, and I'm getting to really learn who my customer
like
is.
Me.
Yeah, old fogies.
Right.
And we talked about this in another episode, branding yourself. And for me, my customer is me. But my customer is also these really two cool young 20-something girls who came into my booth at the Florida Flea.
Those are the two that I met?
Yes. And
yeah, they seemed way too hip for us. I was like, what are you doing here?
I
are
told
you lost?
I mean, and they just pumped me up. I was like,
they were awesome.
I catfished them too, I guess.
Look at you.
But yeah, that, according to my analytics, that's not necessarily my ideal customer. But
Sure.
by doing a vendor event and really paying attention and building relationships, and not only did they buy things and they followed me on social media, so now they're helping my algorithm be more true to what my customer is, and then they went out in the crowd and found one of their friends and brought her in there and was like, you have to buy some things here. Like, they didn't give her a choice. Like, you're gonna love all this stuff, look what we already got. And I hope you guys are watching. But yeah, you really have to get out there and do it.
They mentioned that they wanted to be on the podcast, that they had a small business, but I didn't get a chance because then you shoved me out of there because I was taking up too much space.
I was really busy.
And I was burning up. I was ready anyway, and I'm like, I already have all this stuff, so I'm not going to buy anything.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. What else you got? You asked me originally, like things that I like and dislike maybe. And of course I'm far from the typical consumer at one of these events.
I don't know. Are you?
Yeah. Not demographic wise, but because I'm looking at everything with such a critical eye and being really interested in asking people like, where are you from? And what do you do here? And how many times do you do these events and all this stuff? And I'm that stuff interests me. And some people are very, very engaging, and some are just, I don't know, because I got a bunch of shit in my basement I need to sell. Like, cool.
Well, before you start, because I know you're going to talk about how engaging and how that's how great I am at it. But I just want you to tell the viewers what kind of personality you have socially. Just to make a point.
What do you mean?
Like,
I don't know.
I love talking to people. I'm a social butterfly.
Right.
I make new friends. You maybe are like to talk to people more for like a knowledge base.
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that even people who like aren't super talkative or gregarious, they still want to be engaged with, I guess.
Sure.
Is my point.
Yeah. And I don't know what you'd call me.
A grouchy old man.
No, people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm like an introverted extrovert, extroverted introvert, or whatever. To me, if I just wander through and look at some stuff, and like I can go to a store and do that. Like these events to me, like these people are putting in 10, 12 hours of their day. They've spent all this time making this stuff. Most of it is, unless, if you're reselling vintage stuff, you've curated it, you've went out and found this stuff. You spend a lot of energy on this stuff. And to me, it's like, gosh, you got it 99 yards down the field. And all you got to do to punch it through the end zone is engage with people. You don't have to be super talkative. You don't even have to suffer a moron like me asking you stupid questions because you're too busy. You don't have to, but just being a little engaging. Like the opposite is, some of the booths, because they have their stuff on lower tables, they will sit down in chairs and taking up actually quite a bit of space in the booth. And when you walk in there, they will just be sitting in chairs. And not to say there's anything wrong with sitting down, particularly when you're there all day long, but you're not looking at people on the same level and you're not inclined to be as engaged with them.
That's a great point. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you, but that's a really great point, because there are going to be people who are like, well, I have mobility issues,
Sure.
or I have social anxiety, or whatever. You can always find a way to engage with people.
Sure.
You don't have to be car salesmaning them. Like, that's what I do. That's my technique.
Yes.
But there are so many different ways that you can engage that's authentic to who you are and what your abilities are, and still create just a little bit of a connection. You don't have to become best friends with everybody that comes into your booth, but there's always a way for you to connect that is authentic to who you are and what your brand is.
Sure.
And that goes for not just products, but if you are an organization. I see a lot in the smaller town shows, I see a lot of real estate agents who will get a booth.
I never understood that.
One I know personally, she does it
and all the window companies.
For philanthropic purposes.
Okay.
So she uses it to promote her business, but then to also like raise money for causes.
Okay.
She'll do like raffles and stuff like that. Or you've probably been to some, when it's an election year, that every person running for judge is going to be there.
Yes.
What do you think they're going to get out of it if they're not engaging with people? I mean,
I honestly don't know what they get out of it. I really,
I mean, me either, but
I've gone to Fleur de Fleet, and I'll know when election's coming around because there's all kinds of people wearing the same color shirts, handing out rulers and shit.
And their purpose there is to engage. It's to get in front of their community and engage with them.
I know what they get because nobody in a local election level educates themselves on what any name means. They don't. And that's why they litter the yards with signs, because it's like the recency bias, like the name you saw the most, like, oh yeah, I recognize that one. And
so-and-so knows that.
Right. Or, here's the pencil from so-and-so for mayor. Okay.
Yeah. What makes you think because you have these really beautiful, acrylic pieces of jewelry that you're going to do any better in that booth than the judge who's running through for election, who's sitting behind his table, doom scrolling the whole time he's there? Like, you have to engage, and you can always find a way.
Well, I don't think you have to.
Well.
But I think if you're going to wonder why you're not doing as well, or that's something to look at. Mm-hmm. And that's, I've mentioned before, like, I would spend just as much energy on my booth presentation and my shtick as I did on the stuff in the booth. Mm-hmm. I would strive to make it so different, so memorable, and so engaging that even the people who walk by because it's too busy always come back. Because, these are all set up in a parking lot type structure, and it's easy to go down one way and go out another way. Mm-hmm. And because you don't see what I've noticed is we won't circle back to another booth very often unless there's something that really interested us or something really interesting going on. If it's too crowded or whatever, or we were going to go get a drink and come back. But that would be my goal, is design this in such a way that people feel like they need to come back around, even if they were able to check it out and they're like, I don't want to carry this stuff around if I buy it, but I'm definitely coming back here and buying it. And we've done that. Mm-hmm. We've definitely gone back to a booth. And to me, that's the ultimate, because it's so easy, just like, it's hot out here. It's time to go.
There's another event next weekend.
Right.
Maybe they'll be there.
Right. Or maybe not. And do I really need another t-shirt? But it's so easy to not do that stuff that it would be my goal to make it a no-brainer. Like, I really got to go check out what's going on at that booth where I can get a selfie with Joe Dirt.
And I really I encourage you out there, vendor person.
You don't have a choice but to put up Joe Dirt now.
I'll bring him.
I have married
keep
you.
meaning to bring him here because I feel like he would get more use. I felt like he was kind of seasonal, but apparently he's not.
How is Joe Dirt seasonal?
I don't know. I think of it as like
season
a
of
summer.
America.
Okay, I'll bring him this weekend. I get it. But
you also need to put a sign up front in the style of like the Beavis and Butthead, and it
what
says
if I
get
have
a picture with Joe Dirt.
photo contest? Take a picture with Joe Dirt.
Post
it, hashtag whatever. I'm going to pick one of these pictures and you're going to get a free Joe Dirt shirt.
There you go. Or the one that gets the most likes. Of course, then you have to follow every one of them somehow. I don't know how social
I
media
don't
works.
care. Let me write that down before.
Yeah, that's sawdust, right? That's no more. You've already got the Joe Dirt cut out.
I already paid for him.
Right.
He's long gone.
So I would make a huge sign. You got it. There you go.
Thank you, Jay. That's why I
Thank
keep
me.
you around.
You got the contest. I was just like trying to pull people into the booth, but you took it even a step further. Like said, yes, I'm going to put that much effort into it. I'm going to maximize everything I can get out of that activity. That's the way you win.
Yes. And if you have done vendor events before, and, I'm not saying that the event was great. Maybe it was not a great event. But if you are feeling discouraged about doing another one, I want you to do one, and I want you to plan how you're going to maximize, how you're going to make your sawdust, how are you going to get those people to become lifelong fans of you, and how are you going to get them to wherever else you sell your business, which most likely is online.
Let me ask you this. Do you consider your time spent in your costs?
For a vendor show?
Are you getting that granular?
For a vendor show, no.
Okay. Well, I meant even like on manufacturing time.
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
I consider my time.
Okay.
I
think a lot of people don't.
It was something actually I was hoping we could talk to just as friends, not necessarily on the podcast, was I've been having kind of some epiphanies the last couple weeks about, and my great friend Megan, I know she's listening, I kind of talked me through it, that sometimes as a small business owner, you throw all these things at the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, option A works. So then you keep doing A, and you keep doing A, and you keep doing A. When really B would have worked too, and it might have worked better. And that's kind of where I'm at with my business right now, because I'm doing so many vendor events, partially because I love them, but also because I need that lump sum, to be honest with you. Like, I need to make a lot of money in a short period of time, and I need to grow my following. And that's, for me, has been the best way. So then all these other things I've kind of been ignoring, like other parts of my business, where I'm kind of reevaluating now. I'm spending more money than maybe I need to, or I'm making things I've been doing things more complicated than they really needed to. I'm in the process of kind of pivoting some things and kind of refining that cost. That's where all this was going, of, my profit margin, of kind of trying to make that a little bit bigger so that my time essentially is getting paid better. I'm getting a better hourly wage. And that has made a huge factor in picking vendor events too. Like, I might have made a lot of money, but like, how long did it take me to get there?
Sure.
And how long did it take me to retrieve my kids afterwards from where they were, and, pack up all the stuff. And I'm having a renaissance right now, I guess.
Cool.
Sorry, I don't know if any of that's pertinent to the podcast.
No, it is. It absolutely is. And I think it's just one more step in what we were talking about 10 minutes ago, the evolution of a craftsperson. At the very first time you sell something to a friend or a family member or a neighbor or whatever, you don't give a damn how much time and effort you had into it, and you drove 20 miles to drop it off at their house for $15 because you're in that halcyon stage of like, oh my God, someone loves what I built. They want it, and they're going to give me money for it. And now you start dreaming of the business that you can create and how you can expand your message to the world and make money and do what you love and maybe leave behind the 9 to 5. So you go through these growing pain years where coding is one of the worst ways to do it, because you will spend every waking minute learning the craft and building these things, and like, ooh, I do this. And then you start getting clients and you don't keep track of your time because you want to give them the best thing possible. So you're like, yep, I'll take care of it. Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do that. And you don't like I'm not going to send him a bill for 15 minutes because I'm so good at this, but it would have taken him 3 hours to get it done. So it's very eye-opening when you start actually considering what you're spending your time and your money on and how you're getting compensated for that.
Yeah.
And that's where you're starting to evolve into running a real business.
Yes.
And it becomes real when you hire people.
Ugh.
Because now you've really got a critical eye towards how much you're paying for hourly labor, how much they actually produce for the business. And I think at some point everyone recognized, like, wait a minute, I never paid attention to all this stuff I was doing.
Oh, yeah, because the thing you were doing before, it worked.
Right.
Or it worked, or maybe it worked and it's not working now, or it could work better.
Or you weren't making money anyway.
That too.
I mean, you've got a great hobby that's costing you money.
I'm tired. I'm real tired.
We're all tired.
I'm real stressed. I'm sure you can tell by my response time to your text messages how
I was like, she dead? What's happening?
how crazy everything is. Anyways, I have a pro tip to close us out of this episode.
Just the tip from Angie.
That's my segment. Just the tip.
Angie's just the tip. I love it.
So now for the time of the show that everybody loves, just the tip.
That's got to get its own clothing line. That's maybe it's like a magic marker nub or something like that. That's got to. We can get a whiteboard, and we can have little music. Dun, 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 just the tip, and it's a little magic marker that pops in there.
It's a lipstick.
That might be a little too on point.
Anyways, everybody's favorite segment, Just the Tip with Angie Patterson. It is really easy, especially if you're doing a lot of vendor events, to get lost in the minutia of being the seller. So make sure that you talk to your customers, or if you're lucky to have a friend who will come and shop and can kind of give you a shopper's perspective, to help you take your vendor booth to the next level. Always want to keep the shopper in mind, because they're the ones who are going to be buying your products.
And that was Just the Tip with Angie. You can't do it verbally. It sounds dumb as shit.
That's how I cue you.
Don't cue me. Okay, so wrap.
Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of More Gooder Ideas, where we talked again about vendor events. And we hope that you're learning things. If you have any vendor event tips, leave them in the comments, and make sure you follow us on social media at More Gooder Ideas Podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Jay.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the More Gooder Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at More Gooder Ideas, and search us up on Facebook, the More Gooder Ideas Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.